What up? Welcome back to Redhead MMA. I'm back. It's been like a month since my last video. I did not intend for it to be like that, but I did say in a lot. Well, I've only made a couple videos on the channel total, but in my last few videos, I did mention I was like super busy and like soon I'd be in the clear. We're officially in the clear. I'm gonna start making a ton more videos for this channel. Uh, and I'm not just gonna be making predictions and reactions. Those are gonna be I'm gonna be making all of those except for maybe Apex cards. I tend not to do predictions for Apex cards, just kind of watch them casually. But like I'm gonna be making all my usual predictions and just videos that I want to make, and I'm gonna start releasing those this coming week. After my reaction to this card, UFC Qatar, Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker. Super hyped for this card. I am kind of pissed I wasn't able to make a video for UFC 321 or 322. I was actually at 322 live. It was incredible. Absolutely loved it. But yeah, so I'm back. I'm gonna be making a ton of videos, and let's start with these predictions. Starting the card is I'm going to butcher this name, Marek Bujlo. That's how I'm gonna say it. Versus Denzel Freeman. And I'm gonna go with Bujlo by round one TKO. Um, Uh, both of these guys, they're making their debuts, and overall, Denzel Freeman does have one fight more of experience. That one extra fight is a loss, but Bujlo is both a threat on the ground and on the feet, and Freeman has skills on the feet. He's a good striker, but he doesn't have the same ground skills that Bujlo has. Uh, Bujlo is also slightly younger, which I don't know how much of a difference it's going to make, but he is younger. He's taller and heavier at heavyweight, which does make a difference. So for those reasons, I am going to give it to Marek Bujlo for the first fight of the night. Moving up the card, we've got. I'm actually just going to keep this open. Moving up the card, we've got Nurullo Aliev versus Shamrock. I am gonna go with Aliev by decision. Um, Aliev has, he's got two more fights worth of experience in the UFC, and actually three if you count Dana White's Contender Series. Rock is getting decisions on the regional scene, which that's normal. I mean, fighters. Hold on, just take a sip of water. Edit that out. Uh, you know, he's still winning fights, and that's what matters at the end of the day. But like, Aliev was finishing guys on the. All right, pause. But he was getting finishes on the regional scene. So like, Rock getting these decisions on the regional scene isn't exactly the best look, I guess, coming up against Aliev. And both guys are on the come up, but I think Nurullo Aliev's skills are just better right now, and I think that he's going to be Shamrock. Moving up the card, Ryan Loder versus Ismail Nardiev. I think that's how you say it. And I'm going to go with Nardiev by decision. I think age is going to play like a huge role here. Both guys are on a one-fight losing streak. Um, but Loder did get KO'd in his last fight, and he's 41, I'm pretty sure. So let me just check, actually. What? Oh, I thought Loder was like 41. I think I'm thinking of Volkan Ozdemir. I'll talk about him later. So he's not old in MMA, but he's getting up there. He did get KO'd in his last fight, so he might be a little chinny. And I don't think either of these guys are very good. Not gonna lie. but Nardiev, I think, is going to be able to point fight his way to a decision in this fight. And again, like I'm kind of speeding through these. I'm going to have heavy analysis of these next two. I mean, maybe not like guru level heavy analysis, but like in terms of my channel, heavy analysis. But moving up the card, uh, Beksat Almakan, I think that's how you say it, versus Alexandre Topuria. I'm going to go with Topuria by decision. I think Alexandre Topuria is, he's not currently overhyped. He's undefeated in the UFC. He's 1-0 against Colby Thickness. So I guess I can't say he's overrated yet, but I think he's going to be overrated in the UFC. I just have this feeling that he's going to be overrated. I just feel like he's not going to live up to his brother in the slightest. I could be wrong, but he does have arguably the best fighter in the UFC in his corner for pretty much every fight that he's going to have, unless they fight on the same card at some point. But even then, Alexander Topuria is going to be a prelim fighter for a little while, even if he keeps racking up wins. So, even then, like, Ilya could still be in his corner. And, he was able, in his last fight, Topuria was able to, like, style on Colby Thickness a little bit. I was watching another predictions video, and I think it was Guru's predictions, and he was like, he clip farms a little bit. He was clip farming a little bit in that fight, which is true. The head movement, like kind of ducking and weaving when he really didn't need to kind of make a show out of it. And it's impressive, going for the clip farm, but Colby Thickness isn't that good. Like, he trains with Volk. Volk hypes him up, but I don't think Colby Thickness is all that. So clip farming on Colby Thickness isn't the most impressive thing in the world, and people were acting like it was because it's Ilya Topuria's brother. And so that's just me, and I'm kind of shit talking Alexandre Topuria a little bit, but I do think he's gonna win this fight because Beksat, and that's I'm just gonna assume that's what his name is. I don't think that's correct, but his only win in the UFC is against Brad Katona, and Brad Katona is like below jobber tier. Like Brad Katona, no offense to Brad Katona, but like he's the bottom of the barrel of UFC, like unranked UFC. And I think that's just not good enough. Like Colby Thickness is definitely better than Brad Katona in my opinion. And at the end of the day, I think Alexandre Topuria is going to lose at some point, but I don't think this is the one that he's going to lose in. I think he's going to lose later on in his career, maybe when he's ranked. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Alexandre Topuria by decision, but I've got my eye on you. I think you're overrated. Next up, I'm just getting murked with these names. We have Abdul Rahman Yakayev. Gonna say that's his name. Versus Rafael Cerqueira. Cerqueira. And I'm gonna go with Yakayev by round 1 TKO. And I'm going with Yakayev because Rafael Cerqueira, brother, you're not that good. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how he's like. I don't know what his contract was, but like, I don't know how on this earth this guy is still signed with the UFC. 4-fight losing streak, but he's still signed. When the UFC, look at the heavyweight division, and they're cutting fighters that actually win. Jairzinho Rozenstruik, we're not going to forget. And even more recently, Hamdi Abdel Wahab, the guy won, and they cut him before they cut Chris Barnett, who lost to him. That makes no sense, but that's a whole other rant. And, Yakayev, he's looked very good on the regional scene and on Dana White's Contender Series. Rafael Sequeira, he's on a 4-fight losing streak. It seems relatively clear to me who's going to win this fight. And hey, I could be wrong. This could be the redemption of Rafael Sequeira. And I just look stupid. But I'm not going to bank on that. Moving up the card, Alex Perez versus Asu Almabayev. And I'm going to go with Almabayev by decision. Alex Perez being ranked number 7 in flyweight kind of shows that division still needs a lot of work. It's improving greatly. Like, not that long ago, flyweight, I'd say it was the worst. Now it's clearly heavyweight, but I'm going to say my rankings for a video that I have planned. But the fact that Alex Perez is still ranked 7th is kind of, it's a little, it's not good for the division. He hasn't lost to anyone bad recently. Sorry. But he's losing often, and he's super inactive, and that makes him tough to choose in this fight. And Almabayev, on the other hand, like, he's only lost to Manel Kape, who is always touted as like this like top guy in flyweight, even though it's kind of tough for him to show up to his fights, but that's a different story. But like, he's still touted as this like top guy in flyweight, so it's not bad that he's lost to him. Almabayev has activity on his side. He can actually be consistent, so that's why I'm going to be choosing Asu Almabayev by decision. Moving up the card, we got, again with these names, dude. Oh my god! But Segid, that's not how you say that, is Zakhmayev versus Nicholas Dalby. And we're going to go with Segid by round 2 submission. Mixing it up a little bit here. Segid is making his debut. And, you know, I tend to choose against fighters making their debut. I kind of go against that trend in this card. You'll see later on. But he was undefeated in ONE FC, which is like the closest competitor the UFC has, even if it's not as good as the UFC. It is probably the closest competitor that the UFC has. And he has all the tools at his disposal with elite striking and grappling to win this fight. Because, like, you look at Nicholas Dalby. Dalby's on a 2-fight losing streak, got KO'd by Randy Brown, and he's 10 years older than Segid. I'm not sure their exact ages. He's 41 years old. And Segid is 31 years old. That's going to play a role. And, you know, Dalby, he's not prone to being submitted, but I think that Segid is going to be the first to do it. But, I mean, even if it's not a submission, I can say, like, it's going to be a round 2 TKO. So I think it's going to be either of those. But I'm going to go with the round 2 submission for Segid Isakmaev. Moving up the card, we got Luke Riley versus Bogdan Grad. And I'm going to go, this is another, you know, going against the grain here a little bit. I actually don't know if I'm going against the grain, but I'm actually not going to look at the tail of the tape until I said what I chose. But I'm going to go with Luke Riley by round 3 knockout. Now I'm going to check out this tail of the tape real quick to actually see. Okay, I'm kind of in the majority there. Bogdan Grad, he has UFC experience, but Riley has looked really good on the regional scene. And the regional scene is so hard to judge because of the inconsistency in fighters in the regional scene. You could have a future, like, GOAT of the sport fighting against a guy that's never going to make it out of the regional scene. So inconsistent. But Luke Riley's looked really good in the regional scene, specifically Cage Warriors, which, in my opinion, is the best regional MMA promotion out there, to the point where I think he's going to be able to beat Bogdan Grad. Uh, he also trains at Next Gen in Liverpool. Paddy the Baddy trains there, and I personally think it's the best gym in the UK. So that also adds to it. And Bogdan, he's not bad. He isn't, but he definitely does have a chance of winning. He's got good striking. He's got decent BJJ. But I think Luke Riley, he's super young, and I think he's just going to be able to KO him towards the end of a pretty. I think it's going to be a competitive and scrappy fight. I really do. But I think this is Luke Riley's time. I think it's going to be a great debut for him. So we're going with Luke Riley by sorry, by round 3 TKO. Moving up the card, Kyoji Horiguchi versus Tagiru Umbekov. And we're going with Tagiru Umbekov by decision. This was actually kind of a tougher fight to pick. I spent a little bit of time thinking about who I'm going to pick on this card more than other fights. But these guys are very similar stats wise. So I was really looking at who they lost to. And the only guy like when you look at their UFC careers specifically, Kyoji Horiguchi looks better at a glance. The only guy he's lost to is Demetrius Johnson, which is a more than acceptable loss. Demetrius Johnson's arguably the GOAT. Um, but outside of the UFC, which is where he's been the last couple years, he's been losing to guys like Kai Asakura and Patchy Mix, who have shown to be not UFC level to say the least. Kai Asakura was hyped beyond belief going into his first match, which was a title fight, by the way, against Alexandre Pantoja. But he's now 0-2 and just lost to Tim Elliott. Which Tim Elliott, I think I'll be bringing up in a second because I think Tagiru Umbekov lost to Tim Elliott. Uh, yeah, he did lose to Tim Elliott. Tagiru Umbekov he lost to Tim Elliott, which not as bad of a loss since he just beat Kai Asakura, who's like the GOAT of Ryzen. And that loss doesn't look as bad as it would have looked not that long ago, before August, basically. At the end of the day, Tagiru Umbekov, he beats more UFC level guys that are on that next level, than Kyoji Horiguchi does. So that's what it comes down to in this fight. Moving up the card, I'm looking forward to this fight. Oh wait, sorry, I didn't actually put this in. Sorry, Tagiru Umbekov by decision. Moving up the card, I'm excited for this fight. Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Shamil the Meal Gaziev. And we're going to go with Waldo Cortez Acosta by decision. As much as I don't want to, as much as I would love to just pick Shamil immediately, we're going to go with Waldo Cortez Acosta. Before Waldo stepped in on short notice, I was picking Shamil Gaziev to win the fight. But I think Waldo is just at a level that Shamil is not at yet, or just may not ever reach. Waldo Cortez Acosta, he's active. He's willing to fight on short notice. Sometimes he finishes fights like 50-50 chance with him. And he's willing to fight no matter what. He got eye poked and then won a fight, his last fight by TKO in the same round. And that was on November 1st. Like, this guy, I've gained a lot of respect for this guy in the last couple days. Just him taking this fight on short notice and his fight November 1st. And like, Shamil, he's a good fighter. He's like 14-1, 15-1. Not sure his exact record. But I look at him, and the first thing I think of is not peak male athleticism, and this guy is going to be a problem at middleweight. Like I just don't think that. And is like much as it sounds like I'm hyping up Waldo Cortez Acosta right now. I think this is going to be a pretty boring fight. I think it's going to be a very blobbing at range fight from both of these guys. I don't think there's going to be any big, like, there's going to be a couple, I guess, big hits. Going to wobble Shamil. Shamil might wobble Waldo. But I think it's just going to be point fighting, blobbing at range. And Waldo Cortez Acosta is going to be better at it, which is why I'm going to be picking him by decision. Move up the card. Another fight that I am hyped for, specifically because of this guy, Jack Hermanson versus Mick the Beck Oral By, my GOAT Oral By, coming back. Uh, it's Oral by whatever he wants. Like, well, Jack Hermanson hasn't been subbed since 2016, so I'm gonna choose KO, TKO in round two. Oral By, in my opinion, one of the best up and coming prospects in the UFC right now. And he arguably won his only UFC loss, Absolute War, against, is it Mateusz Rebecki? I think it was, back in October of last year. He's incredibly exciting. He's got all the skills necessary to be a top contender, even a champ in welterweight. Welterweight is becoming the best division in the UFC right now. Couple that with the fact that Jack Hermanson is coming off of a devastating loss, a KO loss from RoboCop. And I just don't think he's fully recovered yet. And he's cutting more weight than usual. He's fighting a welterweight this time. I think it's going to be just an easy win for Mick the Beck Oral by KO in round two. Moving up the card, Volkan Ozdemir versus Alonzo Menafield. I feel like this is an oddly high place in the card for this to be put. Like, I'd put this below both the Waldo Cortez Acosta fight and the Mick the Beck Oral By fight, but whatever. I'm gonna go with Volkan Ozdemir by round one TKO, KO TKO. Volkan might be more inconsistent overall compared to Alonzo Menafield, but he's beaten more high-level competition than Alonzo Menafield has, and he's got crazy power. Alonzo has a better-looking record at first glance, but he hasn't beaten like anyone crazy. When you look at his record, it's kind of like, oh, all right, nothing much here. And that's really it. There's not much to say about this fight. I'm not as hyped for this one as I am for some of the others on this card, but I'm going to be going with Volkan Ozdemir by round one KO TKO. Moving up the card, we are at the co-main event. Bilal Muhammad versus Ian Gary. And this kind of pains me. Bilal grew on me a lot in the last year and a half or so. But I think he's in the start of his fall off. Justin is starting to grow on everybody. I think he's going to fall off. This is one of the fights contributing to that. I'm going to go with Ian Gary by decision. As much as I would love to see Bilal Muhammad put Ian Gary in his place. Oh, I have Neil Magny's soul. Like that. I've been seeing that video so much over the last week, and I have to physically recoil when I see that. It just pisses me off so much. Like, I've got Neil Magny's soul in a bottle. Like, bro, Full Send MMA was also like, I can imagine being him, having to sit through that. Ian Gary being like, oh, look at this soul that I have. Tragic. But I just don't see Bilal winning this. Like, I don't see a scenario where Ian loses. Ian's super like lanky, and he uses that to become like a beast at managing distance. And this is gonna be even easier for him than usual because Bilal's a small welterweight, making it like even easier for Ian to manage distance and jab his way to a decision. And because of that distance control, like Bilal, I don't think he's gonna be able to use the Canelo hands. I don't think he's gonna be able to use that on him, just because of that distance control that Ian will have. And I think Bilal is gonna be slightly scared to go into grappling exchanges with Ian because Ian's really good at grappling. He proved that against Shavkat Rakhmonov. He almost submitted Shavkat Rakhmonov. Like that's a huge feat. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm glazing Ian Gary right now. It kind of does sound like I am because he was the whole like I don't feel like I've lost that whole thing. But God, just thinking about Ian Gary, bro, just pisses me off so much. Bilal, please win. God, bro, I'll take the 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 false pick. Like I'll take the wrong pick for Bilal to win. I just don't see it, dude. And I saw this Instagram comment. Uh, I saw this Instagram comment the other day, and at first I was like, "How do you even make that comparison?" And then I was thinking about it. I was like, "That makes a lot of sense." Ian Gary is a lot like John Jones, and hearing that might make you like want to click off the video right now. But just think about it. John Jones, long, lanky, light heavyweight, like super long legs and arms, crazy reach. Uh, he was able to use that to manage distance and make it so that his opponents couldn't touch him. Like, sorry, but that was why he was so good. He was insane at managing distance. His opponents couldn't get to him, and that's why he was able to stay pretty much undefeated until he lost to Dominic Reyes, obviously. But Ian Gary fights a lot like John Jones. They use their reach effectively, and I think that's how Ian Gary is going to coast his way to a decision in this fight. Bilal, brother, your time has come. As much as it pains me to say right now, like 2 years ago, I would take so much pleasure in saying, Bilal, your time has come. But now I'm kind of sad saying it. It sucks, bro. So that's my pick for the co-main event. I'm going with Ian Gary by decision. Main event time. Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker. I'm going to go with Arman Tsarukyan by round 3 KO TKO. Uh, I think this fight is going to be more competitive than people realize. Like, people are counting out Dan Hooker, like, immediately. Sorry, I'm, like, getting over a cold right now. People are counting out Dan Hooker immediately. Dan Hooker's good, all right? He's just a little too scrappy and, like, just willing to just throw himself into a fight when he could be playing it smarter. Um, and, like, he's still good, though. Like, it's going to be a competitive fight till towards the end of the fight. And, both these guys are going to have ring rust. Their last fights were only a couple months apart from each other. Dan Hooker did fight more recently, but it was only 4 months between their fights. Uh, and like I said, Dan likes to keep it scrappy and close, but Arman is more of a finisher. I think that's going to play, and that's going to be the deciding factor in this. It's going to play the biggest role. Uh, it's going to be competitive on the feet for most of the fight. Like I'm being so serious. People are acting like Arman's going to just dominate him immediately. It's going to be competitive on the feet, guys. I'm telling you. Uh, but like Arman just has more punching power. He's a finisher. Dan Hooker really isn't. And when you look at their recent opponents, Dan Hooker, he won a split decision. I thought he won, but a lot of people thought he lost. He won a split decision against Mateusz Gamrot. Arman Tsarukyan, his last fight, he won a split decision against Charles Oliveira, who murked, who murked Mateusz Gamrot back in October. Uh, like, yeah, it's just unfortunately, I love Dan Hooker. I'm a big fan. I don't hate Arman either. I think he's really good. I do like him. I did lose a lot of respect for him because like of the theory that he missed weight from UFC 311. Uh, Obviously nothing was ever confirmed. It's all rumors, but like it is kind of probable that he missed weight. Like that's general consensus nowadays. I'd say the back injury. He was rolling around with Nina drama perfectly fine the day before. Uh, and I think the UFC, just because he's a top level guy, they kind of gave him a way out. Um, but yeah, Arman is at a higher level overall than Dan Hooker, so I'm picking him to win. but puncher's chance still exists. Don't count Dan Hooker out immediately. Um, yeah, that's really it. That's the UFC Fight Night card in Qatar. Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker. Just as a final run through of my picks, we're going with Marek Bujlo by round one KO TKO. Nurullo Aliyev by decision. Ismail Nwardiev by decision. Alexandre Topuria by decision. Yakayev by KO TKO in round one. Asoma Bayev by decision. Sagid uh, Izakmaev by round one submission. Luke Riley by round three KO TKO. Tagirulim Bekov by decision. Waldo Cortez Acosta by decision. Miktabek Oralbai by round two KO TKO. Volkan Ozdemir by round one KO TKO. Ian Gary by decision. And Arman Tsarukyan by round three KO TKO. Save my picks. That's saved. Thank you for making it this far. If you did, I'm back. I'm gonna be making videos full time as often as I can. Gonna become one of the biggest MMA channel on YouTube. Uh, yeah, that's really it. I'm making a ton more videos, not just uh picks, predictions, and like reactions. I'm gonna be making more like rankings, tier lists, stuff like that. Just talking about stuff that I want to in the world of MMA and the UFC. And yeah, that's really it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll be making a reaction video right after the card is over. So definitely look out for that. Thank you for watching. Redhead MMA out.